Hello and welcome to Long Beach Lens. I'm your host, Derek J. Simpson, Executive Director of the Long Beach Community Action Partnership. We are celebrating an important milestone in the studio today. This is our 75th episode of Long Beach Lens, and we are very fortunate to have had an amazing number of guests on our show. Each month, we film new episodes and behind the scenes. The PadNet staff, interns, and volunteers are working hard on each production. It is an honor to create a program about the people in our wonderful community. On behalf of everyone on the Long Beach Lens crew, we would like to thank you, our viewers, for your support. Our guest today is the Director of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Communication for the City of Long Beach. Please join me in welcoming also a friend and colleague, Reggie Harrison. Welcome.
Well, thank you, Derek. Gosh, it's so exciting for me to be here to celebrate your 75th episode. I'm really honored to be one of your guests. And I've always admired the work that you all do in the community, the work that Long Beach Cap does. So congratulations.
Thank you, and thank you for everything you've done at the city. I mean, when you talk about your role now, it didn't just start there. I mean, you have a long history in the city of Long Beach. For those who don't really know you, kind of give us a quick synopsis of your tenure in the city.
So I've had an amazing tenure with the city of Long Beach. I'm going on my 21st year with the city of Long Beach, and I've served in various leadership capacities. I spent 10 of those years as our deputy city manager, and that allowed me an opportunity to have a very broad perspective on the city. For a period of time, I was also the director of our community development and redevelopment agency. And last year, I got an opportunity to serve as a director of our airport. That was pretty exciting.
Oh, wow. I didn't know about that one, yeah. So as you know, also being a former member of our board of directors and current member of our board of governors, we work with youth and in the community, and we work with families that are low income. But if there's a young person looking at this show, for instance, right now, that's maybe trying to consider what their career path might be, what would you say to them about coming to work in city government? What might they focus on to help them start a career like that?
Well, I'd focus on local government, because local government is really what touches the residents. It's what touches youth right now as well, as they're out in our parks and recreation program, as they're driving our streets, as they're out at the waterfront activities. It's all about local government that makes that happen, and it is a career in which you really feel like your work makes a difference. And then more specifically to my work, emergency management, this is an area, a field that's really growing over the course of these last few years. Unfortunate incidents that have occurred that has fueled that growth, but it's a growing, it's a growing area of interest. So emergency management might be an area to study.
Now, it's a good lead-in because that's where you are, and for those who don't know, that job isn't down at City Hall. You're located on Spring
and
Redondo.
Right.
Okay. So when you made the move there, give us an idea of what that center is all about and what goes on there.
So I'm the director of the city's Emergency Management or Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Communications Center, the 911 Center. So downstairs, we have our big situation room, and this is the area where all of our staff that's responsible for providing support to an incident out in the field, this is where all of that staff would convene to work on issues, being able to provide additional resources that incident commanders out in the field might need. And then upstairs, we have our 911 center, fire and police and emergency response personnel that would be dispatched out to residents needing that kind of service. So we have about 85 dispatchers. They work 24 hours a day. They receive about 1,000 calls a day.
A day?
1,000 calls a day. Not all of them result in the need to dispatch a police or firefighter, but looking for some additional information as well. And it's appropriate in some cases to make that call.
Now, is it just police and fire, or do other emergency calls get filtered through that center as well?
So police, fire, and emergency medical calls for services also get filtered through that. We're approaching New Year's Eve. That's going to be one of our busiest nights in terms of calls for service. 4th of July is another big day for calls of service. So 1,000 calls a day is a lot of resources that we have to dispatch.
Right. So do you have, when you talk about all the different resources, I would imagine there are like joint meetings of the leadership. Do they meet with you as well to talk about what's working, what's not working, or how do you guys strategize on things like that?
Yeah, we actually work as a part of a larger regional concept, working with all of the entities and agencies in Los Angeles County as well as, of course, working with our own local police and fire department. Additionally, the community plays a big role in response as well in terms of emergency management. We depend on our residents to be self-sustaining for 5 days after a disaster, and we might talk about that a little bit more
for sure.
in the interview, but we also work with our community partner agencies like Long Beach CAP and police and fire and Red Cross and school districts, Long Beach Transit. They all come to the table.
Well, since you're talking about that then, if I'm a resident living here in Long Beach or an organization, how can we be more supportive? Maybe that's something you rely on, but the average person really doesn't know how much you rely on that. So how could we be more engaged as an individual or as an organization to help you help us in a better way?
So one of the things that we really emphasize with the residents is to be prepared to be self-sustaining for 5 days after a major emergency. First responders, police and fire won't be able to get to everyone immediately.
Right.
So we encourage residents to have an emergency go kit at their home, at their office, where they store the things that they use on a regular basis: non-perishable food, a gallon of water per day.
Per day?
A gallon per day.
Okay.
For each individual in the family.
Wow.
Also, some medicines or special needs that you might have, that those items are all stored and ready to go. We would also emphasize to residents that they should take emergency medical courses, like through the Red Cross, learn CPR, those kinds of courses that they provide. And as well as, probably even as important, is to get to know your neighborhood. Get to know what are the resources in your neighborhood, who are the retired plumbers, electricians, nurses, school teachers, those people that can help others in the event of a disaster, as well as who's going to need assistance, who are the people that are living in your neighborhood, the elderly people, people that are relying on medical supplies. So that's all a part of mapping your neighborhood, another program that we emphasize.
So, most people, again, may not even know about the mapping of program. I would imagine if you know all of those nuances of your neighborhood, that makes it a strong neighborhood, because then it's like old school, people looking out for each other. Mr. Smith is a retired electrician, or Ms. Jones is a nurse, et cetera. But most people tend to be in silos here, as opposed to, back in Alabama or where you came from. So is that something that a neighborhood organization would help to make happen? Or who really takes the
So a
leadership?
neighborhood organization could arrange those kinds of neighborhood meetings.
Okay.
I, of course, have staff that we'd be happy to go out and provide information on how to conduct those meetings, the neighborhood, map your neighborhood type meetings. But we also have other resources as well that we're able to provide to neighborhoods. We have an array of pamphlets and handouts on various emergencies. We're coming up on the winter storm, so right now we're pushing out how to prepare for the winter storm season or severe weather. We've got information on earthquakes, tsunamis, you name it, we have it, and we have staff that's available to go out to community and neighborhood meetings.
Okay. And then for anyone who's listening, they could just contact the emergency center to get that resource directed to them.
They just contact the office, go on our website, and make a reservation, make a request to have a staff sent out.
Okay. And when you think about then the neighborhood associations and individuals passing that word on, I would imagine that's helpful too, because you would want the entire city to be aware, not just those here in Long Beach. I know recently we've had a lot of fires, and I know that cities share resources. How does that impact us? I would imagine that Long Beach Fire is, for instance, out fighting fires in other parts of the county and the region, but we're still safe here, right? That doesn't take away. I know some people get nervous about things like that.
So the fire departments within the region work under what's called a mutual aid agreement, whereby they share resources. If additional firefighters are needed in Selma area, like the fires that are going on now, we'll backfill our fire stations in Long Beach. So we're not losing the resources that we'll need for our neighborhoods. We also, as a part of my department, we manage our Homeland Security grants as well. We receive about $8 to $10 million in Homeland Security grants annually. That allows us to pay for a lot of the training and equipment that we need. And these are all regional serving equipment. For instance, when we had the power outage a couple of years ago in downtown Long
Several
Beach,
of those,
right, over the course of about 30 days, so we experienced various power outages. We recognized as a part of that we needed more high capacity generators that could provide power to apartment complexes or to some of our critical facilities, our neighborhood recreation centers. And so we went out and acquired probably about 20 high-capacity generators, which are stored here in Long Beach. That's good. So we get first dibs on those. But there are also resources that, again, if they're needed elsewhere in the county, they call up the generators, then dispatched to that area. And so it's through this network of sharing of resources and information that we feel like this region is better prepared than it has ever been.
Real quickly, before we go to break, you mentioned generators. I know in the South, growing up in hurricane country, a lot of people had generators. And you talked about food for 5 days, but in terms of batteries, generators, is that something that you recommend, or just a case-by-case basis? No,
I think it's all things that we recognize that we're going to need. We recognize that the electrical grid is going to be out with any major disaster. We're going to lose that. So again, either individual generators or through, again, that map your neighborhood, you identify the households in the community that are going to have generators, and so you know where you can go and get that kind of support.
We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we will continue our discussion with Reggie Harrison. Stay tuned for more of Long Beach Lens.
They have offered me opportunities. They allow me to utilize equipment that they have. I get to practice more so than I would with the supplies that I have, with the equipment that I have.
I'm learning how to work again with more people and how to actually work in an actual studio and working with the cameras and hands-on.
I remember they said like LAMP as in leadership. I learned a little bit about how to become a leader, as well as communicating with the people I work around with.
After being here, all the teaching, all the skills I've been learning, it became easy. It's like learning the alphabet. And from we start from the bottom and then we go up. We start learning all these new skills. Things that we thought that it was, really hard becomes easy.
It starts with a simple flame, and the anger and the hurt, and all of the things we tell ourselves we shouldn't feel. We feel them. We tell ourselves no more. We tell ourselves not again. And at these times, gratitude can feel like a distant call, a bitter pill, because tears will fall, and there will be those people who you wish you had told you loved them one last time. But we pick ourselves up, leave the pieces of ourselves that broke behind, and carry on, grateful that we had them for the moments that we did.
Welcome back to our 75th episode of Long Beach Lands. I'm Derek J. Simpson. We are meeting with the Director of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Communication for the City of Long Beach, Reggie Harrison. Reggie, you've shared a lot of information. We've got a lot more information to share. But I want to start out with a text 911 video, and then when we come back from that video, I want you to kind of talk us through some of the steps as to how people can use that. So here's the video.
Text to 911 is now available in the City of Long Beach. Hearing and speech impaired residents of Long Beach and those in situations where it is too dangerous to dial 911 for help in an emergency can now text to 911. Call if you can, text if you can't is the slogan developed by the Federal Communications Commission, or FCC, as Long Beach and other cities in Southern California implement this new technology.
So when we look at this video, is text 911 something new to Long Beach or new universally?
Right.
Give us an idea of
Right.
what's going on.
So we're really, really happy that we're able to bring this additional resource to the City of Long Beach. Text 911 is new to Long Beach, it's new to the region. We work collaboratively with other cities in the region to be able to bring this additional resource to connect residents with emergency services.
Okay.
So call if you can, text if you can't is a really good resource, we think, especially for the hearing impaired and deaf residents in the City of Long Beach, or people that are in situations where calling is not a safe thing to do. People that might be hiding because of an active shooter situation or in a domestic violence situation.
Now we had 7 steps that I want to just quickly go through in a graphic, because you mentioned, or I saw in an article, I believe, where these were some things that people could do, and we're going to put that up on the screen. So the guidelines for it are, as you were saying, call if you can, but enter the numbers to 911. So,
right, so it's intuitive. You text just the same way that people text today. So enter the numbers 911 in the to field. The first message should contain a location, because we don't automatically get that in a text. There should be a brief description of the emergency and the type of help needed.
Okay.
Push the send button and wait for the dispatcher to respond on the other end. Be prepared to answer questions just like you would when you call 911, and follow the instructions of the 911 text taker. Text in simple words.
People can't take that for granted, huh? Just get to the point.
Text in simple words. Do not use slangs, do not use abbreviations, emojis. Keep the text message brief and concise. And our last, of course, tip is do not text and drive.
Of course, yeah. So by following these steps, and as you said, I mean, sometimes you can't talk.
Right.
So this is actually something that could save lives in a different way.
It can save lives, and we just implemented this program on December the 1st. We've already handled probably 5 or 6 live texting sessions, exactly as it was designed. Our very first text session had to do with a woman in a domestic violence situation.
Wow. So other cities are following suit then?
Yeah, other cities in the region are as well. We thought it was important to roll this out as a region so that residents wouldn't be confused if they're in Culver City. Can I text? Or, you know, so all of the cities within our region are able to implement this technology.
Okay, now along with this system, you also have something called Alert Long Beach. Give us some insight on that.
So Alert Long Beach and Text 911 are probably 2 of our most recent upgrades that we've made to our emergency communication systems. Alert Long Beach is our primary method for alerting, notifying residents in the case of a major emergency or disaster. We're able to send a message to an email message, a text message, or a voice message directly to your smart device, a telephone, or whatever resource it is that you give us. It's important with Alert Long Beach so that you have to register to be able to receive these text messages. It's appropriate. People don't work at home any longer. A lot of people don't. A lot of residents no longer have a home phone number with the explosion of cellular phones. So being able to reach people exactly where they are with a concise message as to what the emergency is, what a first responder is doing, and most importantly, what you should do to preserve life and property.
Right. Now, also, I know we talked about earthquake preparedness. Thank God we haven't had that as an issue, but I know we also have a graphic that we will share on that. But earthquake preparedness and early warnings are something that people should not forget. I mean, we talk about fires and floods, but that's something that always looms as well here, right?
Yeah, Long Beach is a very, very complex city in terms of disaster preparedness. And because of our proximity to many fault lines in the city of Long Beach, obviously, earthquakes are the most probable disaster that we prepare for. But we also live on a Pacific Rim, so we're concerned about tsunamis. We have a major airport and port, so we're concerned about terrorist attacks there. And each one of these incidents require a different reaction from our residents. Drop cover and hold on in the event of an earthquake is what we recommend to the public. Drop to the floor to avoid being knocked over. Cover your head and find a sturdy cover and just hold on until the shaking stops.
Until it stops. Right. Now, earlier you mentioned the 5-day supplies, and I know we've talked about that, but active shooters, that's something that's becoming more and more of an issue as well in the community. What's your advice when you talk about that?
Unfortunately, in our society today, unfortunately, active shooter events are occurring more and more frequently. And as a result of that, FEMA and emergency managers like myself recommend to the public that if you found yourself in one of those situations, to run, hide, fight. Run if you can, hide if there's a safe place, and then as a last resort, fight and fight with all of your might. We've seen shootings taking place recently. The shooting in Las Vegas is the last shooting that we saw in this region, at least, but there's been a number of active shooter events across the country over the last few years.
Yeah. What about with the port? How do you interact, if at all, with them? And I mean, when you talk about land and sea,
right?
I mean, I'm sure that we have exposure there as well. How does that work?
Right. So we interact with the port on almost a daily basis to compare our response plans, to share resources. One of the tools that you put up on the screen earlier was this earthquake early warning system, which Long Beach is one of the first cities in this region to beta test, so that we're able to receive an early warning of an earthquake. And we share that resource with the Port of Long Beach. Our goal is to figure out operationally, if we had 30 seconds of warning, would that give the port time to put a crane down safely? Would it give medical providers an opportunity to stop delicate medical procedures? Those are the kinds of things that we're looking to get out of this technology. It's working. We get those alerts whenever they occur. We have a lot of confidence when it says that you're going to experience a 30 seconds of warning. It's going to be moderate shaking in Long Beach. That's been pretty precise. And so we're looking forward to the federal government being able to provide those same services to residents.
And the airport, is there anything unique that we have to do with them? I mean, you guys are right there by that.
Airport, we work similarly with the airport. The airport has the same technology as well that I just talked about in terms of earthquake early warning, see if we can divert planes from landing. We also work with the airport in terms of a major incident. We do tabletop exercises with the airport, so we can exercise our systems in terms of how airport personnel would respond, how police personnel would respond, and how fire personnel would respond, and what are the resources that they're going to need.
So we have a little bit of it all, right? I mean, we have it from the ocean, in air, train, and intercontinental transportation. You have to stay on top of it all.
My day is busy, and as I said, it's a complex city for the city of Long Beach. We're really fortunate that we have a lot of these amenities: a port, an airport, tourist destination. We wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. We just need to make sure that we safeguard them.
Right. When you look at the trends in your industry in terms of disaster preparedness, is there anything on the horizon that, just like it was Text 911, is there anything else out there that you're looking forward to that may be brought to the city eventually as well?
Well, I think the trending thing is technology and the use of technology. And obviously you have to have some redundancies in technology. So Alert Long Beach, earthquake early warning, text to 911, they all rely on technology. And so building in those redundancies. And then more particularly for the city of Long Beach, we're looking to get more hands-on with the community in terms of disaster preparedness. We recognize that when we say have 5 days of supplies on hand, that there are neighborhoods in Long Beach where that's not financially possible. And so we're looking to see if we can work with resource centers in neighborhoods where we can store some water and these kinds of supplies that are necessary. So work on plans, have a place, a resource center in the neighborhood.
We're almost out of time, but any final thoughts in this last minute or so that we have about your job and what you do?
Well, this is, as I said, I have 21 years. I feel like this is probably some of the most meaningful work that I've done. There's nothing more important that you can do than trying to safeguard lives and property.
Well, thank you. Thank you for all you do. Thank you for your support of Long Beach Community Action Partnership. And I'm happy that we have this opportunity to get the information and share it from you to us so that then we can share it with our viewers and hopefully be more supportive of your success as well.
Thank you.
Thanks for everything.
Congratulations on 75 episodes.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'd like to thank Reggie Harrison for joining us on today's show. Be sure to follow PadNet TV on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram for the latest updates. We also welcome your other comments and thoughts regarding this show as we strive to make Long Beach Lens a favorite source of local news, information, and entertainment. This show has been brought to you with support from the Long Beach Community Action Partnership, helping people, changing lives. Thank you for watching our 75th episode of Long Beach Lens.